My workshop breaks every rule I know. We've got carpeted floors, not a single tool hanging on the wall, no visible ductwork anywhere for dust collection, and bright colors everywhere. If you showed this space to any other woodworker, they would tell you exactly what's wrong with it, and they would be right, if the goal was efficiency. People will talk a lot about productivity, layouts, workflow, getting more done in less time, removing friction, and optimizing every step. But the thing that matters the most can't be optimized. Creativity is problem solving. The best ideas don't show up when you're rushing, they show up when you slow down. This isn't a workshop optimized for productivity, it's optimized for me wanting to be in here. I don't even like calling it a workshop. This is my playground, my lab, my studio, a place where ideas get made. And once you stop working around other people's rules, you start thinking in a completely different way, and this video is brought to us by Squarespace. We are gonna talk about tools, we're gonna talk about dust collection, and we're gonna talk about when I do choose efficiency over everything else. But first, I want to talk about the thing that is most important to me when I walk in here, and that's comfort. So let's talk about the thing that confuses most people and why I have a carpeted wood shop. We are in a 2-car garage, and underneath this carpet is concrete. Concrete is cold, the carpet is much easier on my feet, and the carpet is sound absorbing, so it serves multiple purposes, but mostly it's about comfort. Last summer, we had to do some foundation work here in the lab. So we had to tear up the old carpet, work on the foundation, and then put new carpet down. There's a whole video on that. But that previous carpet was that high-end industrial grade carpet. And that was pretty easy to vacuum. This time, I ended up putting the cheaper carpet squares down, much harder to vacuum. But after talking to some experts, I got a hotel quality vacuum, and this thing works great. Had a Dyson before, and Dyson's a great vacuum, just didn't work on this carpet. And then I went to a vacuum shop and they're like, try this. And I did, and this thing works great. So there are no brooms here in my shop. Daniel just reminded me, I actually took sawdust over to the vacuum shop so we could throw it on some carpet, and they demonstrated a few different vacuums. And this guy, without spending like thousands of dollars, was the best option. One of the biggest unforeseen advantages of having carpet in the shop is carpet sliders underneath tools to move them around. We have a drop ceiling in here, and the tiles that I'm using for the drop ceiling are specialty tiles for absorbing sound and reflecting light. They're also very heavily insulated. They're maybe like 1.25 inches thick. There's no reverberation in here. There's no echo, and it's very calming and peaceful when you walk in here. Also, the drop ceiling allows for these 2x4 lights. They're LEDs, and they're very specific color temperature. Between the carpet and the acoustical tiles, it is very calm and dead sounding when you walk in here. It's just, it just feels comfortable. I have no tools on the wall anywhere, which is pretty unusual for a wood shop. I don't like that visual clutter, although some people might say the mural on the wall is visual clutter, but everybody is different. My videos aren't about the tools, they're about the projects and about creativity. So I like the tools to be hidden. So everything is in drawers, and every tool has a home. So this drawer right here is only corded tools. These 2 drawers over here are only Festool tools. And this drawer right here is just for my router stuff. My buddy Matt Taylor designed and painted this mural on the wall here. I like all the colors. It gives a sense of playfulness and helps spark creativity here in the shop. I've also learned that I like walls that are darker colored for the videos. It adds a little bit of depth to the video. So if I am in the foreground, or if the thing that I'm working on is in the foreground and well lit, and the walls are dark in the background, it really gives a sense of depth. I treat the videos as art just as much as I treat the projects that I'm making as art. So I like making videos just as much as I like making projects. And so the environment, the colors of the walls all add to that, and are all pretty important to me in giving the overall vibe to this workspace. When I walk in here, it just feels like a creative space. It doesn't feel like a place to do work. This is the thing that drives a lot of people nuts. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 7 screens in here. And I just like the movement. I like the life that it brings to the shop. It's not about, it's about me. It's about how I feel in here. So a lot of times on this one, we just have these visuals. That's just the motion to add a little bit of life. This is also the TV that we play music on. And then over here, a lot of times I will have this look like a big window, like we're looking out into the mountain range, and it just looks cool. It totally changes the vibe of the entire place. I also play a lot of movies while working in the shop, and it's always a movie that I've seen 100 times. So it's not distracting, so I don't have to pay attention to it, but there's something very comforting about it. And then over here, this is a computer screen that controls the CNC and the laser. And then when we come over here, this looks like a 2002 iMac G4, but it has been gutted, and I have a Mac Mini, an M1 Mac Mini in there, so I can use Fusion and other programs on here. This is I use mostly use that for like notes and just having the Fusion file up when I'm working. And then this over here, this little TV VCR combo, this isn't meant to stay in the shop. This is a future project, but a lot of times we have a VHS in there just playing a movie. Daniel just schooled me. He says this is a sleeper build. I've never heard that term before, but it looks like something old and junky, but it's been souped up on the inside. Sleeper build, huh?
Sleeper build.
Sleeper build. All right, that's my sleeper build. So let's talk about my dust collection, since I get a lot of questions about why your shop is so clean all the time. So I don't like ductwork. It's not very inspiring to me. Plus, there's just not room for a lot of ductwork in the shop, especially with the low ceilings. So every tool has its own dust collection, or almost every tool has its own dust collection. So down here, I have this Right dust collector for the table saw that also shares with the planer. Over here is an air filter that you can see that we use quite a bit. And then over here, my drum sander has its own dust collection underneath here. So if I lift that off, it is in there. And then my router has its own dust collection in here. And then if we come around over here to the miter saw, it has its own dust extractor. My random orbit sander has its own dust extractor down there. The big bandsaw has its own dust collector in there, hidden. I don't like seeing dust collectors, so a lot of them are hidden. And the little bandsaw, which is trapped behind the TV, that's not supposed to be there, has its own dust collector down there. The CNC has its own dust extractor, which is hidden down here. And then all of the stationary sanders have their own dust extraction, which is hidden in here. I don't like seeing them, which is why I hide them. Something I get asked a lot about is, isn't it difficult to empty out the dust collectors since they're all hidden and underneath? And the answer is sometimes yes. Some of them are harder than others. But the thing is, since there are so many dust collectors, that they don't have to be emptied out very often. The one that has to be emptied out the most is the one that's hooked up to the table saw and the planer. And we also have a cyclone that separates the dust, so it doesn't even go into the bag unless we forget to empty out the bin. But that one's the most accessible. And the trick is to just have a shop assistant. You need a Daniel to do it for you. So when something gets full, you just yell Daniel, and he comes running and he empties out your dust collectors. People will say, it looks like you're working in your living room. Why is your shop so clean? And the reason is just every tool is hooked up to dust collection. We also do a complete reset every time we start a new project. And by reset, I mean everything gets put away, everything gets dusted and vacuumed and clean. Every new project starts fresh. A new beginning, a new journey with every single project. That's just the way my brain works. I can't start something unless the shop is in perfect working condition. So before we get into all the individual tools, I just want to say a couple things about my philosophy. My needs and desires are going to be completely different than your needs and desires. I am still evolving. Longtime viewers of this channel will notice the drastic changes over the last few years here in the shop. My shop is always going to be evolving. My philosophy is always going to be evolving. So in 5 years, this might be completely different. I might have a completely different mindset. Who knows? But my shop changes with me. I also have to remind myself that my shop will never be done. I really need to get this into my head that no matter there's always something to do. Like where my computer is, that desk needs, it's a makeshift desk, just a couple pieces of plywood. It doesn't feel like a place to work. And so that needs to be worked on. I got this wall completely done. I kind of want to redo this little mobile table over here. I just have to understand that my workshop will never be done. It's always evolving. It's always changing. Right now, the mood, the vibe, the playfulness, that's what's most important to me in this shop. Somebody once commented saying, it looks like you work in a kindergarten room. And they meant it as an insult, but that's exactly the point. Remember how creative we were and how free our minds were when we were kindergartners? That is what I'm looking for. I want this place to have that cool playfulness, creative vibe. I want to ask you, what is your bigger picture? Because my bigger picture right now is I am working towards an art show in June. That is going to be my main focus over the next 6 months. This will be my first art show, hopefully the first of many, but you are invited. I'll have details down in the video description if you want to learn more about that. But I am really, really excited about this art show. I'm still going to make furniture videos. I just want to push my creative limits. I want to design them in a way that makes me excited about the projects. I really want to push myself. And that's the thing is I need to be excited about the project. For example, I need to make a serving tray. And I'm not excited about that project yet. So I need to design it in a way that it is different, that gets me excited about the project. I don't want to just make stuff because that's what I do. I want to make stuff because I love making stuff. I don't want to be the old man telling you what tools to buy or how to cut a joint step by step. I want you to be inspired by what I make. We've kind of gotten rid of the step-by-step how-to over the past year or so, but we're gonna push that even further going into 2026. Every video that I do make, I try to make sure there's at least one little nugget of knowledge in there for you. So at least you learn something practical in every single video. Here is the thing where I put efficiency and productivity above all else. I very much dislike sanding, and good sanding takes a lot of time. So I'm willing to invest money into sanders. So I have a disc sander, a spindle sander, a drum sander. I also have the random orbit sander. I've got a couple little detail sanders. I also have a cordless random orbit sander, and then a bunch of sandpaper and those little mesh things for sanding. And I really dislike sanding. This is where I could use some suggestions. Are there any machines that I'm missing or jigs that I could use to speed up the sanding process for me? Yes, I have card scrapers, but I'm talking like trying to get into sanding like curves and weird shapes and things like that. I just dislike sanding so much. It's the one thing that I just want to get done as fast as possible. So I'm looking for suggestions. Up next, we're going to talk about all the individual tools. But before we do that, I'd like to tell you about today's sponsor, Squarespace. And while doing so, I'm going to take you into my office so you can see where I edit videos and make all the music for these videos. We are here in my office. This is where I record the Making a Podcast with Jimmy DeRusta and Bob Claggett. It is where I edit the videos, and it is also where I make the music that I use in my videos. And if you're thinking this is the year that you finally get a website, you should do so with Squarespace. Let me tell you why. I've been using Squarespace for about 11 years now, It's always been pretty easy to set up a site, but it has never been easier. These days, you go in and you answer a few questions like what kind of website you want, what you want on your website, and while you're answering these questions, Squarespace is going to build your site for you in the background. That means when you are done answering the questions, your site is ready to go and it's all navigatable. The menu's all set up for you. You can go and check out all the different pages, and all you got to do is go and replace the text and photos with your own text and photos, and you're ready to go. And you can choose from any of their award-winning templates, and you can go in and you can customize everything. You can change colors and text and fonts and all of that. It's all super customizable, and you're not locked into that template. You can easily go in and just swap out a different template. It's that easy. Lots of cool features with Squarespace. You can sell both physical and digital items. You can hook up your Squarespace store to a print-on-demand service like I use. It just makes my life so much easier. You can set up a calendar where users can book time with you, which I will be doing in 2026. We'll talk more about that later, and so much more. All of it is made to be super easy to set up, so you don't have to know a thing about the code, backend, cloud, none of that. So visit squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, let them know that I sent you by going to squarespace.com/makesomething to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. All right, let's head back out into the shop and finish up this tour. Here are my main tools. This is the centerpiece of my workshop. This is my SawStop 3 horsepower table saw. It's got the extension wing on there. I just got this, haven't even used it yet. This is from Harvey. This is the overarm dust collection. I can't even give you my opinion because I just got it installed last night and haven't used it yet, but it does swing out of the way when not needed. One of my all-time favorites for the shop is this sliding crosscut table that I made for my saw. It is connected to my saw, and so I can crosscut things way bigger than you could ever crosscut with a crosscut sled. And this pops off and out of the way. Now you can buy sliding crosscut tables. SawStop makes one, Harvey makes one, but the problem is it's always in the way. It's why I used to have the SawStop one and it was just always in the way. And so with this, the fence comes off, it's completely out of the way, the table's extended, and it's like, I've got a video on this. It's one of my favorite things I have ever made. Going around the perimeter, up next we have the bandsaw. I have 2 bandsaws. This is my bigger Laguna bandsaw. Like I mentioned before, it's got dust collection on there, but this is great for resawing, so I can bring this up. We can cut things up to 13 inches tall. I never use the full capacity of that, but this is great for resawing. I have 2 bandsaws. This is a little one, and I use this for cutting smaller things and curves. Again, the TV doesn't belong here, but yeah, I like having a 2 bandsaw setup. That way I'm not having to change blades. And this is the Rikon 10305. And then hidden back here, I haven't used this very much. It's a recent purchase, but it is the Bauer scroll saw. And it has been absolutely amazing. It is a very well-built saw from Harbor Freight. I don't have any complaints at all about that saw. Highly recommended. So moving over here is my Rikon 8-inch joiner, and then to the left of that is my Rikon 16-inch planer. I think most people can get by just fine with the 12 or 13-inch planers that are much smaller and much cheaper. I just wanted to be able to plane multiple boards at the same time for efficiency, even though the shop isn't about efficiency, but you know, planing boards isn't something I look forward to doing. Planing boards is what I do to get ready to start the project. We'll talk about the digital tools in a little bit. We've already talked about the sanders. Over here in this corner is my router table. I've got a video on making this, and I have a very special fancy router where a computer controls the fence depth and the router height. I don't use those features very often, but it is very handy for quickly setting up the router, especially for repeated cut. I've got a video on making the router table and a video that's all about the Next Wave Shark RS1000 Pro router system it's pretty incredible what it can do. Over here is my jet lathe. I don't even have the extension hooked up to it. I don't use my lathe very often. I don't really enjoy lathing. And I don't know if it's just because I don't have the right lathe or if it's messy or what, but I just use it for when I need to. And then to the right of that is this crazy fancy drill press with a little digital DRO. Digital DRO, that's redundant. With this, I can set depth stops. I can have it reverse as it's going up. It's great for repeated depths. Whatever, I got a video on this guy. I got a video on most things. And then over here, I have my Festool miter saw. I've had 3 different miter saws. I've had the Makita, the Festool, and the Wen. This one is the most pleasurable to use because it slowly ramps up to its speed by slowly like a second. But like the Wen, it goes full speed right away, and it's a very violent on, and it kind of jerks the whole thing. Plus the Festool has the best dust collection I've ever used on a miter saw. And then where I spend most of my time is my workbench. It's got a maple top that I CNC'd this design on here a long time ago. It's got a nice patina on here. And then behind the bench is this sliding wall, and it's mostly just to hide all the junk that I don't want to visually clutter up my workspace. But there we go. Everything runs on a track for pocket doors, and these are just pieces of walnut plywood that slide open. I actually don't like the sliding wall anymore, and I want to turn these into actual doors. Various reasons, but the sliding wall kind of annoys me. So if I need something out down at the other end, I slide the whole thing, and then if I want to close, nah. There is a ladder over here that leads up to the attic, which there's more storage, which you do not get to see because I don't want to show you how messy I actually am. But this ladder comes out, and then I can go up here and hide away from the world. Moving on to my digital tools, this is my Bamboo Lab H2D 3D printer. This is not the best spot for it. This is another reason for a carpet is like a child, I like to work on the floor quite a bit, so the carpet is easier on my knees. But this is not the best spot for this 3D printer, but it's where it is right now. Moving over here in the corner, and then I have my X-Tool P3 laser. I've been working with X-Tool recently. I just realized that I have the David Lynch shirt that I designed, my David Lynch wall art that I made. And then over here, this is a project that some of you might recall from a couple months ago, the David Lynch Casio keyboard. As you can see, I'm a huge David Lynch fan. But anyway, this is my CO2 laser cutter. And then to the right of this is my Stepcraft CNC. And that's all run by this touchscreen up here. There is one more digital tool that it might be my favorite tool of all time. And that is out in the metal shop. Let me take you out there. This is my X-Tool Metal Fab, which is a laser metal cutter and welder. So I can draw things up on the computer and cut shapes out with this, and it leaves a perfectly clean cut. This thing, this might be my favorite tool because it blows my mind every single time I use it. And then you can take out the laser in there and use it for welding. I've got a video on this, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here. And then moving along, this is my welding table, and then a traditional Lincoln welder down here. This is my Kaka for bending metal. There's a metal lathe back here, a metal chop saw, a belt sander, a little metal cutting band saw. Finally, my belt grinder, belt sander from Ameribraid. That is my metal shop. It's also really cold, so I don't use this too much in the wintertime. That is my shop tour. Have a great 2026. As always, be safe, have fun, stay passionate, and unsubscribe from the noise.